Talk Radio, you're in to all things music.
Don't be that person that when you walk into the room, you suck the air and the life out of it. Don't be that guy or that girl that when you leave, everybody's shoulders finally drop down and they're like, oh, wow, okay. Come in and for God's sake, be prepared. Rehearsal is not for learning the material. Rehearsal is for rehearsing. That is a serious pet peeve of mine.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Welcome to the show, and thank you for tuning in. I want to let you know how much I appreciate you joining us on our show every week. If you missed last week's interview, you can hear it and all of our episodes at entertalkradio.com/makingit or download our app and take us with you. So often I get asked questions about the creative process, so I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business. You're really in for a treat as I've invited my friends, some of the best and brightest in music, to share their stories on how they have influenced the music that has shaped our lives. I guarantee you're going to love it. So let's get started. My guest today is vocalist, songwriter, producer Amy Keys. Amy Keys is an American singer and vocal artist. She has performed and recorded with artists including Phil Collins, Ringo Starr, Toto, Johnny Halliday, Barbra Streisand, Sting, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Chaka Khan, Don Henley, Diana Ross, Tito Puente, and Tina Turner. And that's just the short list. So here we go. Please welcome my guest today, Amy Keys. Hi, Amy.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here, Terry. Fantastic program.
Thank you. It's a fun one to do because I really do get to bring on the people that I love and respect that are living, certainly to say the least, interesting lives and productive ones and very creative ones. And
well, very
that
cool.
includes you. Yeah.
Well, I am very happy to be included in that list.
And by the way, for my guests and for all of you listeners, that really is the short list, and we're going to be covering some more. But I didn't want this to be a half-hour introduction of credits and name dropping, because it'd be more interesting to actually have a conversation with you, Amy, than to talk, just start naming all the people you've worked with. But it's a large list.
It's a lot. I've been quite blessed. Yes,
I would agree. You have been quite blessed, and you've earned your place, and I've watched you, we've, full disclosure, been friends and musical partners and comrades for many, many years. But I have watched you work your way to where you are today. And it's been really a pleasure to watch your journey, to be alongside you for many parts of the way and to cheer you on from the sidelines as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And it was a pleasure to get a chance to work with you creatively as well. So we've definitely got some great, we've got some great history. We did some, some really great things.
We'll get into some of those things during the show today.
Cool.
I want to go back to early years first, just to sort of set the tone on, growing up in, Washington, D.C. Is that where you were born, by the way, in D.C.?
Yes, I'm originally from Washington, D.C., and when I was very young, lived there for a short time and then moved just outside a stone's throw away from D.C. into a little place called Sea Pleasant, and then a little further out into Maryland. So the place that's now called affectionately the DMV, the good DMV. And for those who don't know, that's DC, Maryland, and Virginia, because you can literally at certain spots throw a stone and hit all three.
Right. Did your was there a work opportunity for your family, for your parents, they just wanted to get you to a more kid-friendly neighborhood? What prompted that move?
Well, it was kind of a combination because both of my parents were in medicine, and my father actually was always at DC General Hospital, so he worked in Washington, DC forever. And my mom was at Bethesda Naval Hospital when she finally retired. She actually was one of the nurses that helped out with President Reagan when he was shot, because he was taken to Bethesda Naval Hospital. Yeah. So
was she on the trauma team?
Yes. And she was one of his, I guess it was ICU. I don't know what, they probably had some kind of code name for where he was held, but she was one of his private duty nurses that cared for him.
Well, they had the best of the best to choose from. So that speaks highly of your mom.
Oh, yeah. She was a badass. She was really good. She took her job very, very seriously. Her whole thing was a concentration on patient care. So, yeah.
Are your mom and dad part of where you got your badass attitude from? Because you share that. And by badass, just focused, willing to do the work, having a great work ethic and a passion.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you learn that from them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there were 5 of us, and they got everybody. We all made it out alive.
That's quite a feat.
Oh, yeah.
So that's not to be taken lightly.
Oh, totally. Yeah. We didn't kill each other and we all got through. Everybody went through college. And both of them, I have no idea how they did it. My mom would be home with us during the day with the younger ones who weren't in school. And then when everyone else was in school, she'd be home to make dinner and all of that good stuff. And then she'd go work evenings and come home in the morning and take care of kids during the day. I don't know when she scheduled sleep. It was incredible. And my dad was my mom was more the quiet, strong, quiet type. Like she was head nurse whatever hospital she worked in, but was very, I don't want to say ladylike, but I guess she was. Yes, she was just very, very ladylike and very quiet, but not the one that you wanted to push. And my dad was definitely the more vocal, more outgoing. He was ex-Army man, and everything was yes sir, no sir. And if sir was not at the end of it, you didn't want to know what would happen afterwards.
Yeah, but it would hurt. It would sting for a while, wouldn't it?
Oh, totally. But he was the type person that if you brought him into a room of people and he didn't know anyone, by the time he finished, like 15 minutes in, he'd know everybody. And he was like the representative of the hospital and would go on these different junkets and stuff, but that was his. So their personalities were kind of a yin and yang thing. So I watched them, and I'm sure all of that rubbed off on me. I'm definitely my dad's daughter, though, is he was just really active and really driven, very, very driven. So
I think that would explain why you ended up getting a degree in biology with a minor in chemistry. Were you thinking you were going to be a doctor, or were you just intrigued by that?
Oh, yeah, no, because I still love it. I'm actually sitting here in my house right now, and I've got my Principles of Biochemistry book, my pre-calculus, my general chemistry, and my Grey's Anatomy copy.
Right, just some light summer reading.
I know.
Glass of lemonade and your puppy next to you.
Totally. But it was, I loved it. And I had a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant chemistry professor in high school who thankfully at that time was going for his doctorate, and his thesis was based on a new text that he was developing that would really pique young people's interest in chemistry and in the sciences. So we were his experimental group that got a chance to he got the school system to allow him to use his new book on us, which was amazing. And I mean, but you would get the kids who were always the studious ones, the nerds and everything, chomping at the bit to be in class. But then you'd also get the kids in there who hated stuff like that, who loved being in that man's class. So I was really fortunate with that. So that just kind of additionally inspired me to really have a love for chemistry and all of that and biology. And then in college, once we got into microbiology, and I just always loved to find out the workings of things. And that lets you get down to the workings of things on a cellular level, which to me is brilliant. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating. I agree with you. So speaking of teachers of influence and people that really have made their impact in your life, did you also have some great music teachers and acting teachers when you were younger, or did that start to happen as you got older?
That actually happened more so when I got older, except I will say I had a music teacher. There was a brilliant music teacher who she actually would do gigs in DC. But this woman was a brilliant music teacher and voice teacher in elementary school. And she was teaching us proper breath control and different things about theory and all of that. Not that we knew what the heck was really going on at that point, but a lot of the stuff that she taught me stuck with me. And she was really a bit of a mentor to me at that point. Mm-hmm. And I think she recognized
a talent in you.
Yeah, and I think she saw that music was really that I had an affinity for it, and that to a point where I hadn't even recognized my love for it, and she kind of honed it and fanned the flames of it. So yeah, she was pretty special.
You know, it's interesting. There's some teachers I remember having a conversation with as an adult with my elementary school principal, Mrs. Boone, Virginia Boone. And she was telling me, it was back in the day when I used to be on the TV late night talk show circuit. And she would stay up and, watch us late Saturday night. She'd always watch the beginning and just see me on camera, and then she'd go to sleep, with
cool.
her reluctant husband in the bed, waiting for, because it was past their bedtime apparently, but however, when I was speaking with her, she, we had a reunion where I got to just spend some time alone with her back in Miami. And she said, I'm proud of you. It's so great to see you doing this. I always knew. I got that I always knew speech from her. And it's like, you did? She saw it way before I saw it. She said, I always knew that you were going to be an artist.
Wow.
And I had no idea until I was older. So,
exactly.
God bless our teachers.
Yes. I'm glad to hear you say that, because it was like, well, wow, why didn't I see it? But I guess we're so... It's like you can't see the forest for the trees. It's like if you're in the middle of it, right, you don't really see we don't see what they're observing from the outside looking in.
Yeah. And actually, it's kind of refreshing for me to hear that from you as well, because we were just so busy being ourselves and figuring out how to keep moving forward and survive in our families and all of that. And we have turned out to be of influence and work with some amazing people in the music industry. But we also have a lot of friends who you just knew, like when they were kids, they were talented, they were prodigies, they had the best teachers, they were on a clear path. So I'm kind of excited to talk to you as a person who just saw it unfold as, not as a kid, but as you were starting to be in college. And I know you were singing in some vocal groups in college, and that must have been when you started to get the itch, I would imagine, to think about was it a difficult decision for you to make a switch from going into medicine and research to performing? How did that go?
Yeah, to a degree, because I always loved it. I always loved music.
And singing, yeah.
Yeah, and I always had an affinity. I was like, when I was riding in the car, I would always sing along with the songs, but not just to sing along with them. I tried to make my voice match whatever part I was singing, and then I would rewind, or whatever. Back in the day, I would rewind.
Or pick up the needle, right?
Exactly, and listen to the parts over and over again and sing. I wanted to hear every single part and know every single harmony part and know how it moved. Mm-hmm. And I've done that as long as I can remember. It was just kind of there. And I always loved it. And I would sing a bit in church, but I didn't sing any gospel music until I was singing with a group in clubs after college. I was raised Catholic, so there was none of that going on. I was singing Ave. The deepest song I got to sing was Ave Maria. So, but I would imitate every voice on the radio that I would hear, or on record, or on tapes, or whatever. And then as I started to get more opportunities to sing out and ended up singing with bands in college, that just kind of kept fanning the flames more and more and more. And then eventually I decided, you know what, because I still, to this day, I still love the sciences, but I got to a point where it's like, okay, if I keep doing this, if I stay on this path, this is where I'm going to be. And I will forever regret not having thrown my whole heart and attention into my music. So I just took a leap. It was a little difficult. It was definitely difficult at first because my first gig paid me a grand sum of $50 a night. But wow. Oh yeah.
I'm impressed. That's a wow.
Woo. Yeah, no, it was rough. So where was that? Was that back east or was it in LA? No, that was back east. I was working at a club called Mr. Henry's, actually, where Roberta Flack got her start at Henry's in D.C. Mm-hmm. And I started singing with this group there. Yeah, I got $50 a night. Wow. So I was working during the day.
Was that 50 plus dinner or just a discount on food?
Well, mainly, you could get a discount on food. The bartender gave us drinks, which was funny because I did not drink until I started playing at that club. So when friends of mine came in to see me sing, they're like, what the heck? What's going on with you? And I was like, yeah, it's true. I have been driven to drink. Completely. Oh my God. But the bartenders would take good care. They take good care of us as far as alcohol was concerned.
Yeah. So how did you decide whether you're going to move to New York or to LA or any other options? Those are generally the big two choices.
Oh yeah. Well, New York is a lot. New York is not to be played with. It's kind of a New York, LA. Yeah, LA is. It's not easy, but it's a little bit easier to navigate. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit easier to navigate than New York. New York is like jumping into a ring with a prize fighter. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And excuse me, this
but
weather.
You can certainly get some water if you want, and I.
Oh yeah, I'm grabbing some right now. It's my allergies. Okay. This weather. Yeah. And the lovely California weather is killing me allergy wise, but otherwise it's been fantastic to me. But New York was a lot more difficult to navigate and didn't have as many opportunities because I also act. So it was actually my acting that paid for me to move out to LA.
Did you come out on a show? Or a movie?
Well, I did. I ended up booking. I came out to kind of test the waters because at that point in time, I had a deal with Epic Sony and I had representation. I had
By the way, shameless plug that your Sony record was called Lover's Intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Can people still find that?
Yeah, people still pop on my Facebook page and say, "Hey, I just found your album." I'm like, "Oh my Lord, that thing is still around." But God bless them. I thank all of you all. Man, that's cool. It was an honor. I was like, "Wow, okay, you're looking for it. That's very cool."
Mm-hmm.
But
so you came out.
Yep. So I was.
Acting.
I was with William Morris
on an
at the
acting
time.
Opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my agent was saying you cannot stay in DC. You're either going to have to go to LA or to New York. And I had checked out New York a bit, and it was more theatrical stuff, which I love too. I do that as well. But I came out to LA to test the waters. So I kind of gave each spot a test run. And I came out and ended up getting work on a film, and I booked 2 TV commercials. So I kind of took that as, okay, the entertainment gods are telling me I need to move to LA. And so with the cash from the commercials and the film, I moved out to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. And I have a recollection of you telling me that one of the first things that you did, or in your first year, you were singing at some open mic competitions, and you would show up and win and make some money.
Oh yeah. That was how I was paying my rent when I first got out here. Club Rage. Thank you very much. If anybody who goes there is on the line, because you all kept a roof over my head.
Kept the lights on.
Oh my God. Because I would go over in West Hollywood. I forgot who told me. A friend told me, "Hey, you need to go check out this place. Go down and do this competition. They pay," I forgot how much it was, but each time you won, you had to come in and you would compete. And then everyone who had won their week or their night had to come back, and we'd all compete against each other. And then there'd be an additional jackpot. And so I paid my rent like that, along with that. And the working for a temp agency, that was my glamorous life when I first moved to LA.
Well, you're answering the question I was going to ask next, which is what was your worst job in the first year? I park cars, which led to a Billy Preston tour, because the drummer parked cars too. So
no way. Oh, that's fantastic. I love stuff like that.
But I hated the car parking part of it. Yeah. But so yours was working at a temp agency, or was there worse than that?
Oh God, it's kind of a tie, because the temp agency would call me in, and you basically kind of had no control over what gig they would send you to.
Yeah.
So I did that. This one gig they sent me to was, they could not keep a temp on. In fact, at the end of my run there, they wanted to hire me, and it was like, no, there are not enough zeros on the check. Thank you very much. It literally was the moment that I sat down at my desk until the moment I would rise, the phone's lines were constantly lit. I was on the phone and dealing with irate people all day long, which was absolute, utter misery. And God bless people who go to do office jobs. I am not the one. That is not my calling. And then I was doing extra work. And the worst part about that, when I came out to LA, I was already a SAG and AFTRA member. And I go on set, and they're like, "Oh, well, that's all well and good, but you're still non-union." I'm like, "Well, how is that?" Because there used to be an extras union. So you had to join. Yeah, you had to pay an additional, not so cheap amount of money to be considered union if you were doing background work or extra work. And initially I was like, well, whoop that. I'm not paying you any more money. So I was being paid $40 for 8 hours as a non-union extra. So after a few of those lousy $40 checks with taxes taken out, I pulled that money together and became a member of the extras union and detested it. And the worst gig, I had to drive downtown from Woodland Hills in the rain, pouring down rain. So going to downtown from Woodland Hills is hellish anyway, but in the rain.
Yeah, for those that don't know. Yeah.
Oh my God. And it took me almost 3 hours to get there. And the moment I got parked and was walking to the set, I'm met by an AD who's ready to read me the riot act. Where have you been? And we need and I just decided, it's like, you know what? I'm going to go home now.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's like, no, wait. I'm like, no, I think I'm going to go home now. Because we were in this, oh my God, and I ended up staying, but we were in this heinous, damp holding area, and you just sat around for hours and hours and hours. If anybody who's done extra work, you're basically the wallpaper behind the really paid actors.
Right. I've done it a few times as well. Yes.
Oh, and sometimes it can be fun, but for the most part, it's kind of heinous. But it kept
particularly
when
you've gotten a taste of being on the other side of the line, you know, where you are treated not so much as a herd of people, but individuals. You know, it's a class system.
It totally is, and you really depending upon who in the crew is dealing with you, depending upon the crew you're dealing with, they can really drive that point home. And that's when it's not fun at all. But then there are other times where you're on a set. I worked on one show where we used to play cards when we had downtime, and our jobs as extras were to dance like we were at a club. So we had a blast. It was fantastic. Yeah. So sometimes it was cool, but for the most part, it was not easy. It's definitely better. It feels better to be the actor in the piece. Let's just say. Yeah,
I would agree. So your ups and downs were like pretty much most of the artists that have been on this show, where the first year had some bumps, and along with opportunities and an extreme of challenging and wonderful experiences put together. So not surprised to hear that. So let's get into the fun part.
Cool.
Singing, you know, actually being recognized for your talent and for your gift and your hard work. Was your first real major tour, was that with Leonard Cohen, or had you done tours previously to that?
No, that was my first major one, actually. Well, actually, no, I take that back. The first major one.
Was Katie Lang around that time, or no?
No, that was later. The first one that I really did, there used to be a little spot called Scobies. You may remember this, up in the valley in Chatsworth. Yeah. And I did a lot of singing for free up there. Mm-hmm. And one night, in fact, that was my first gig, my first official gig as the leader of the band. And I can't remember how many people were in the band. All I know is that we split the money equally amongst everybody, and we all got $37.50 apiece. So that'd be enough to buy a couple, 2 or 3 Starbucks coffees now. But one night I was singing for free, and this guy came up to me and said, "Oh, do you do background vocals?" I was like, sure I do. And he introduced me to the then girlfriend of, and I didn't realize this until he walked by when I was talking to her. I was like, holy crap, that's Ricky Rocket. The then girlfriend of Ricky Rocket from Poison. And she had a deal, and they needed background vocalists for her. So I went there to meet her and to start working with her. And she was like, oh, well, you need to meet my friends at, they do a thing called R&B Live. Mm-hmm. And she took me down there one night and introduced me. They brought me on to do background vocals for the different, because they would pull all these different groups together that like amazing groups. One night they had a band made up of Herbie Hancock, Joe Sample, Marcus Miller was the MD. Hamish Stewart sat in. It was that kind of thing. So I went in, and this particular night, I got asked to sing backgrounds for Al McKay from Earth, Wind and Fire. And after rehearsal, he said, "Oh, well, what are you doing over the next X number of weeks? One of the girls that was supposed to go out with us can't do it. Would you be interested?" I was like, "Oh, heck yeah." So we go out, and long story short, we did the tour. At the very last night, people had been asking for someone to sing Reasons. So he turned to me and asked me, did I know the song? I was like, are you kidding me? Everybody should know this song. So he handed me the microphone and had me sing it that night. And unbeknownst to me, the guys in the horn section were the bulk of what is now Vine Street, the Vine Street Horns, who tour with us with Phil Collins. Yeah. And Harry approached me on the plane ride home, and we exchanged numbers. And I figured, oh, wow, yeah, you're giving me your card. This will be, and telling me to call you. Right. Nothing will ever come of this. So this was early one year, like February-ish. I get a call early summer. He said, don't get your hopes up, but I've recommended you for this gig. And turned out to be the Phil Collins spot. And then, as fortune would have it, divine intervention, I call it, a couple of months later, R&B Live did a USO tour, did a military-based tour. Philip Bailey was one of the singers. So we got along famously, sang background for him, and I asked him if he would write a letter of recommendation. So he did. And then I found out when I was putting together my package and looking at Phil's liner notes reminded people there's a thing through the Grammys about give artists the credit. So we'll go. I'll get a plug in for that. But it had Brad Cole's name on there. And he had played keys on some of the songs on my first CD. So he wrote me a letter of recommendation. And I ended up getting a call on my answering service from Phil Collins later that fall to invite me on board.
I love the thread of how that happens, and even the fact that some of these beautiful opportunities stem from you showing up and singing for free in clubs.
Oh yeah,
and not turning away from opportunities that very clearly led you on a path of remarkable experiences, getting paid well to sing with some of the top artists in the world for a long time. And you know, I think you might have missed some of that if you were stuck on that. You needed to be paid every time you showed up to just go sing some music, play some music with some people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I look at the opportunity first and then at the cash. And if it's, you know,
you still do that, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I won't allow myself to be taken advantage of, you know, don't get me wrong. Right. But if it's like some of the gigs that I've gone out on have not been the best paying, but man, were they with the best artists. And I've come home richer as a performer because of them and because of connections and exposure that I've received during those things. The difference that would have been made up in getting that check initially was made and surpassed.
Right. Yeah, there's an annuity to that.
Oh, completely. Yeah, no, the experience. Yeah, like I said, I look at the experience and the opportunity first, then the cash.
Well, that seems to be serving you well, and I agree with your point of view. Yeah, as you know, and there are a few of our friends. It always makes me smile, like when, and this includes you, when we all call each other to do things, we ask about the music first. You know, and again, none of us are interested in allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of, but it's not the first question that we always ask. And sometimes the question remarkably isn't even asked. I'm not talking about when you go on a 3-month tour or something, but I mean, sometimes, I find that people just say, yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for thinking of me, because they know, the details are going to be handled. It's
totally.
going to be a union session or whatever it is. So it's not, it reminds me of the value of, the community, of friendship, about respect, the mutual respect that many of us have for each other, and the love and passion of being creative and creating with each other, collaborating. And, but it's a fine line. Does it ever not become exhausting? I was going to say, does it ever exhaust you? The idea of being paid so many different rates for doing the exact same thing, showing up, learning your lines, learning your marks and singing. And, and the amount of zeros can be different, at the end of the gig. I find it personally, it's not that it's confusing. It just wears me out sometimes to continue to have the conversation.
Oh, it's completely exhausting. That's the one hat, because I wear, as artists and independent contractors, we wear a myriad of hats, and that is
you're
one
an arranger,
of the ones,
a producer, an actor,
totally.
A songwriter,
and then you have to be the attorney, the it's like chief cook, bottle washer,
that's right,
good cop, bad cop, everything. And then it comes down to the inevitable, how much is this going to pay? And how long is this? And how long is that? And it's all that. I hate that part. That is one part that I do not like. I love the music part of the music business, detest the business part of it.
So how do you handle that? Because I don't believe that you have an agent or manager repping you right now. Do you?
That would be me.
Right. And likewise, that would be me on my career. So,
I have an agent for my acting, but not, not particularly for my music. So,
right. So how do you find balance in that? I mean, how do you maneuver through that?
Usually what I will do is I will go to the SAG-AFTRA singers rates. Mm-hmm. Unless it's friends and family. I have my friends and family rates, and then I have everybody else. Everybody else, I usually will go to the SAG-AFTRA rates and quote them that, and have that be our initial stepping off point, our base point for negotiating rates and times and all of that. Friends and family is a totally separate thing. Sometimes I've been paid in pizza and really good wine.
As have I. I've been on both sides of that check.
Yes.
I have brought the wine and pizza, or I've received it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. But I would expect that you do it with enthusiasm and passion, and make sure that the people that you are negotiating with don't lose the fact that you're excited and very interested in doing this with them. And my rate is blah, blah. You just give them a number.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely let them know, because it's like, I look at gigs, unless, like I said, I won't be taken advantage of. That I will not tolerate. But I look at it like this person is requesting me. They did not have to call me.
Right.
And they're paying me, and this amount of money that they're giving me, as long as it's fair, as long as it's a fair price, is more than I had in the morning when I first rose before I got the call. So I'm already ahead in the game. So I'm dead. So
right.
I go into it. I try to go into it with that attitude. The only time that my attitude will change and go in the other direction is when I can sense, and I'm sure you can tell, when the tide turns and they're trying to see, well, how can I get this like 10,000 feet of work for 100 feet of money?
Right.
Yeah. When we
That's
go
well
there,
said.
then I put the bad cop hat on. Then that's when that comes out. But those are few and far between. Thank goodness.
Right. And you're right. It's good to remember that they're calling you and they're calling you for a reason.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, I've gotten so many things, singing for pizza and wine. I've gotten so many other things from folks or people who could only afford the pizza and the wine that one time, who since, I may have forgotten that I did some stuff with them, and out of the blue, I'll get this call. Hey, Amy, you remember me from blah, blah, blah. Well, I've got this budget for blah, 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 and it turns into this huge thing.
Well, we have a good example. I was reading on your wiki page, I think, or the bio that was sent, that there were a couple of promos that you did for CBS, and they were for I don't have that note in front of me, but they were things that you and I had worked on previously, and then we got paid a second time to go in and do that because they wanted to change the lyrics to a couple of songs that we had written to fit whatever their promotional campaign was.
That's right.
And that was, and I mean, we got paid first time around, but we also got some pizza and wine on that too. It was a fun project, something that I'm really proud that we got to do. And we ended up on the charts, and it's a group called Bila that we were in together, and we wrote songs together for that. But we had an opportunity later on where there was a nice payday because they had a SAG-AFTRA contract to have you come in and re-sing one line, I think. I think you're right. I think it was one line, and we went there. We went. It was for Amazing Race. Wine. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we went from pizza and wine to residuals. Exactly.
Which is it's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a great example. One of the things that you were talking about, being a little girl and singing along to the radio and wanting to not just learn all of the parts, the harmonies and the melodies and the phrasing, but to make yourself sound like them. Yeah. It reminded me of when I hear you sing. I've heard you sing on so many occasions, on records, in concert, together in the room, working together on stage together. But one of the things that I have noticed about you, and I'm always trying to drag you off to a corner where I can tell you this in private, and we never have the time. So I'm going to say this in public right now, but it's a compliment to you that of so many wonderful singers that we are friends with and know that have many of those talents as well. There's something unique about you. And I think that kind of explains it to me when you're telling me how you were brought up. You have a really beautiful ability to blend with all of the various different artists that I've seen you and heard you play with over the years without losing your individuality as a singer. And there's a really fine line on that, because there are some people that are really great singers that don't know how to pull it back a little bit so that they can become part of the blend. Mm-hmm. Theirs is the voice that always kind of sticks out because they maybe don't know how to control their vibrato, in the same way as everybody else, or just, bring it into the mix. You are great at that, but there's something about you that's always there in the mix that I get, and it's not overpowering. It is when it's supposed to be, but the compliment to you is that it's really interesting to see that you never disappear into it. You just become like the rest of the rhythm section. You're part of the machinery and the pocket and the groove. If you pulled it away, it wouldn't be the same. So there's still that, your heart is still there. Your spirit is still there. Whether you're singing lead or whether you are within an ensemble or, singing under the lead. And I've just been wanting to tell you how much I respect that part of your skill set.
Oh, wow. Your point of view. Thank you. I appreciate that because that's important to me, to be that, how do I put it? It's like, I always consider myself part of almost like you would consider a keyboard pad that's supposed to be under whatever the solo line of the piano part is. You know what I mean? And I'm supposed to be there and be the support for it, but not get in the way of it. So that's
you understand your
compliment.
purpose.
Exactly. Oh, very cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome, Amy. I mean, every time I see you, I want to pull you aside and tell you that. And so here we go. Nice little private moment in front of millions of people. Yeah.
I know. It's like, hi, y'all. The multitude.
But I think it's important it's important to the arc of this story, your journey, because like you just said, you understand your purpose in what your job is, and sometimes it is to be upfront, full out, loud and proud. And other times it's not. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't have the same amount of intensity and passion. But it's you are comfortable in a support role as well. But there's something there's a little something that you bring that I always know it's you. I can hear you pop without it being distracting.
Oh, yay. Good. Then I've done my job.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
Let's talk for a moment about Neris and the being on the governor's board. What that has been like for you and why you did that.
Oh wow, it was such an honor, and I still work with Grammy advocacy and looking to work on a few more committees. Well, I stepped in. My dad again. I am definitely my father's daughter. He worked every year. If there was an election going on, if there was something going on with PTA, he was the president of the PTA. He was the poll worker. He was involved in everything. And he was the person who would say, well, were you there? Did you vote? Did you do something about it? Then don't talk to me. Don't complain to me. So we have nothing to talk about. That was his attitude. It's like, if you're not willing to step up and do something about it, or, at least be part of the solution for it, then conversation over, done. And so my whole thing was...
By the way, let me just interject. That applies to everybody for what's going on in our country and in the world.
Yes.
So whatever side of the fence you are on, don't be mean to people. Don't be hating people. Don't be fear-based if their skin is a different color than yours. But get involved and vote and voice your opinion. Yeah, that gives you the right to have an opinion.
Exactly.
So I agree with your dad and with what you're saying.
Oh, totally. You have to. So, and that was what I grew up watching my mom and my dad, especially my dad, being active constantly. And I found out about the Grammy Governor's Board and ran and got elected. I did 2 terms, and then they asked me to be on the advocacy board. And sitting on the governor's board, we would go. We would do things like work for Music Cares, and that was actually how I discovered. Funny side note, that was how I discovered my orthopedic surgeon, because I managed to do take a header down a flight of concrete stairs and tore my meniscus. And through Music Cares, I found my surgeon, who happens to be a former member of Sha Na Na.
I heard that he's a great doctor.
He is phenomenal. He and his partner are, amongst other things, because I wanted a sports physician, because what we do is not easy on stage, as you know. And I needed to be able to move, and I needed to be able to get up quickly and go. So I wanted someone that worked on ball players and, sports figures. He and his partner are the staff surgeons for the men and women's Olympic volleyball teams, amongst other things. But it's so cool to walk into your surgeon's office, and the first thing you see on the wall is this numbered picked photograph of Jimi Hendrix, and Hendrix is being piped in. It's great. And he's got his own CD sitting on the counter for sale, and all proceeds go to Music Cares.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So, but I got involved with Music Cares and doing functions for that. Through being a Grammy governor, we did things with Grammys in the schools and did mentoring of kids from junior high school on up. I did just a ton of advocacy work. And then I got the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. for Grammys on the Hill, where we actually went to see members of Congress to talk to them about copyright reform and performers' rights, because most people don't even know, including your members of Congress, folks, get on the phones, because trust me, the National Broadcasters Union does. Aretha, perfect example, Respect. Everybody knows the song Respect. Everybody assumes that it's Aretha's song. Aretha's version was a cover. The original performer and writer of the song is Otis Redding. Because we do not pay performers' rights here, and we're in great company along with, I think it's Rwanda and Iraq or Iran or someplace like that, the only countries, industrialized nations that don't pay it. Because we don't pay that, Aretha has gotten bupkis. She's gotten zilch for the playing of that song on the radio. The only one that's been paid is the Otis Redding estate, because he wrote it. So we pay writers and we pay producers, but we don't pay the actual performer. So Titanic, that whole CD, My Love Will Go On, and all of that other stuff, Celine got paid for it being played on the radio. Why? Because she's a Canadian citizen. But all the rest of the songs on that CD, I forgot who, was it Hans Zimmer? I forgot who did the rest of the music on there.
I believe so, yeah.
Anything else played on the radio, he didn't get anything for it unless he wrote it. It being performed on the radio, we don't get paid. So we've been fighting for that. So we go to Capitol Hill and we have members sit before Congress and actually sit down at the table with members of Congress on Capitol Hill, as well as we now have a thing, Grammys in Your District, where we take people in your district. So you're a vote walking into the office to talk to them directly about it. So it's been a great experience.
I'm so glad that you have been doing that and continue to. We're going to put a link up. I'll get that link from you after the show, and we'll make sure it goes up on the website so that people can find out more about Music Cares and the other organizations that are benefiting from the time that you and your other board members are putting in and investing into the community. We have about less than 5 minutes left in this conversation. I want to ask you a couple of your point of view on a couple things, and I'll ask them quickly, and so that you can get to the important part, the answers. The first part is, since this show is called Making It, what does making it mean to you, both personally and professionally?
Getting paid to do what I love to do. Getting paid to do something that I would do for free. That's what making it is to me. And that's what I've accomplished, knock on wood. I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have done that. And I have done it for free. A lot.
Right. Yeah. Which we're talking about. Getting paid to do something that I would do for free and actually being able to keep the lights on doing what I love. Can you share 3 tips for success that have driven your career?
First and foremost, never stop learning. Never think that, I've made it. I know all that I need to know about whatever. If you're a vocalist, take voice lessons. Your voice changes, your body changes, your voice changes, and you never know what a new vocal instructor or your current instructor might come up with. They might tap into some new thing, or one of their lessons may finally click and you're like, oh, wow, that note that I used to have trouble hitting, now it's an easy peasy. Take take lessons, take more lessons musically, instrument wise, whatever. Just constantly never stop growing, never stop working towards something. I'm going to be taking classes until they throw the dirt in, period. I mean, that's just how I am.
I've watched you. You've taken sight singing workshops. You went and learned French.
Oh yeah.
In the time that we've been friends, and you've gone and toured singing whole concerts in French because of that. So you certainly are walking the walk on that.
You have to.
Any other tips for things that have driven your career?
Oh yeah. I always say this about myself. I want to be missed when I'm gone. And that, I think, and that encompasses a ton of things. Just that one statement. Don't be that person that when you walk into the room, you suck the air and the life out of it. Don't be that guy or that girl that when you leave, everybody's shoulders finally drop down and they're like, oh, wow, okay. Come in and for God's sake, be prepared. Rehearsal is not for learning the material. Rehearsal is for rehearsing. That is a serious pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Because there's a meme that was going around, and it was about singers, which kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But you can insert, it's like insert artist here, and it's Kermit the Frog sitting on top of an amp, and it's like, and it says underneath, band members waiting for the singers to learn their parts.
Oh, jeez. I remember that.
Yeah. And
Amy, I've got 1 minute left and one important question to ask you. At this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, trust yourself, trust your heart, and you're better and stronger than you realize.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks. And I'm glad I didn't give you much time to think about it, so that it was from the heart, that you didn't overthink that one.
I know, not at all.
Where can people find you if they want to hire you?
Right now, I'm putting together a new website, so it's not up and running yet. But on Facebook under Amy Keys, and I have an artist page as well. And I always post all of my things. I answer my instant messages, so you can hit me up there. Be kind.
We will list those as well. Amy Keys, it's been really beautiful spending the hour with you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Terry. Great show.
Thanks. And thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Tune in again next week for another great episode of Making It with Terry Woolman.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.